This program only reflects the personal views of the program hosts and or the individual contributors.
Hello and welcome to Newsline. I'm your host, Harminder Singh. Today we have a very special guest in studio, and he is Damian Gjiknuri, Minister of Energy and Industry of the Republic of Albania. Mr. Gjiknuri, thank you for joining me here on Newsline. First question, how do you like Hong Kong, and why did you choose this destination?
Well, thanks for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to address your audience. Of course, I come from a very small country from Europe, but Hong Kong is a quite amazing city for what it has achieved. It's a country that amazed many other countries. Of course, you are in a completely new situation now with the unification, but I've seen that Hong Kong have used very well its position as the main hub between China and the West, and I think you are strengthening this position. For a person like me from a small country, which the reason why we chose Hong Kong, which also is trying to answer your question, is we want to promote more Albania in terms of investment and trade. Albania is part of a peninsula in Southeast Europe, which is called the Balkans. There are many small other countries which we are trying to integrate each other to become more kind of more powerful market. And Hong Kong, I think it's a right place. It's a good place. As I said, Hong Kong it's a main hub. It has a fantastic connection. It's well known for its stock exchanges and the public listing companies. And I think there's opportunity for Albanian companies to be listed here if they want to expand, and also opportunities to expand the trade with China and the rest of the world.
So trade and the stock market, is there any other areas where Hong Kong can help Albania and vice versa?
I think in Hong Kong, Hong Kong it's like a city-state, let's say. And the role of Hong Kong and being a trade hub and also a financial hub, it's important for investment. Of course, we need more trade in order to know each other more, and after that we can go to a kind of like a marriage. After knowing each other, we can go to the next step, which is the investment. And I think there is enough money here, there is a lot of capital, not only in Hong Kong, but also coming from China, which can be directed in areas in Albania which can be profitable. We have many natural resources, we have industries which can be very useful for many investors in Hong Kong or in the mainland China using Hong Kong as a gate.
So if there was one feature of Hong Kong you could export to Albania and integrate it into your country, what would it be?
Well, besides the capital which can be available for investment, I think Albania also a great potential in tourism. I know your people travel a lot, people from China are traveling more and more now in Europe. And if we can promote Albania in tourism, because it's a fantastic place, it's in Mediterranean, it has great heritage from the ancient times, it has modern life and also ancient life mingled together and living in quite harmony, fantastic seaside, and still underdeveloped tourism, which means there are great potential for developing tourism there. And I think if more people from Hong Kong or China visit Albania, that would be great, not also for cultural exchanges, but also in terms of strengthening our economic cooperation, because tourism, it would be a great factor for Albanian development. So if it's something to be promoted in Hong Kong, why not? The image of Albania, a country with a friendly environment, very friendly with the Chinese people in general, because we've had longer relationship with China in the past, and I think why not? It would be a great place, a great destination for all of you.
Of course, Albania is one of the first countries that recognized the People's Republic of China when it was established. Now, you want to promote tourism, but usually Albania is not on the destination list of a lot of tourists. They usually go to this country that borders the south of your country, and that's Greece, or Italy across the Adriatic Sea. So what is there to see in Albania?
It's everything what you see in all those two countries, but also something which is original. We still have a very pristine beaches and seasides which are not overwhelmed by tourism. Maybe for some people this can be seen as a downside, but I see it as an advantage, because tourism in some parts of Europe is saturated. They're looking for something different. Plus, in Albania, as I said, for Chinese people from this part of the world, they will find a very friendly environment. Plus, Albania is a mix of culture. It's also, we have this kind of tradition when we say East, you say very well, East meeting West. In Albania, we have this kind of, because in Albania we have a number of religions living in harmony. Albania was a borderline between the empires, the famous Byzantine and where the Christianity started to spread. It has a great history also during the Ottoman Empire. So it's a mix of culture you can find in one country, and it's a small country to visit. You can cover Albania in a couple of days. So that's, you see one country in a couple of days, and you can move to the next country in Greece, or maybe further north in Montenegro and Croatia. So I think there is a lot to gain. I mean, it's as I said, it's a great climate, great food, great atmosphere. And you know, it's always good when you see a new country and you like it, and I'm sure more and more will come in the future.
Now, President Xi Jinping has started the One Belt, One Road initiative. Does Albania want to be part of that initiative?
Absolutely, and there would be a great summit next month here in China about promoting this initiative and also promoting investments from China. China has a great wealth and capital, and they are looking ahead for finding better connection with Europe. And why not this tradition of the Silk Road? I mean, all trades from Europe have initiated from mainland China and China in general, and those links should be strengthened more and more. And I think there is a great potential. There is potential in capital in China, technology now spreading, and why not? This One Belt, One Road is not only economic, it becomes also, let's say, human and spiritual, because as people find better ways to cooperate with each other economically and live in harmony, they will create peace. Peace comes from harmony.
What role can Albania play in this initiative?
Albania is located in a very strategic position, as I said, somehow in this sort of gate between East and West, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Eastern in terms of the Muslim world, but in the meantime bordering the Western world, the Christianity, and the harmony that Albania can play. It's a good example how people can live with various different religions living in harmony. And also the position of Albania is becoming more and more strategic. Albania is located in this southern corridor for the gas supply. I mean, there are important projects going through Albania now. Is the main gas pipeline, which is about to be built in Europe, have started already in Albania. It's called Trans-Adriatic Pipeline, which is intending to bring gas from Caspian Sea to Europe. But this is open, this southern corridor. It's an alternative to European energy security besides the traditional Russian supply. Got nothing against Russia, but the idea is that the better diversified you are, more security you have, more future you have.
An alternate route.
Yeah, alternate route. And now in the Mediterranean there are a lot of discoveries of gas. And
you have one of the largest oil fields in Europe.
We do have oil fields, and we are promoting to have more and more. Recently we concluded a very successful negotiation with Shell and with another Israeli companies to extend our exploration in onshore. Very soon we are going to close the next round of auctions for the offshore blocks, and I believe we're going to have more companies. So seeing all these elements, I mean, in terms of energy security, located in this geostrategic position, having access to the sea, and also playing this a role as a country, having lived in various different sort of empires and having inherited different cultures and different religions, is also an example of a great harmony, which I believe it's exactly what also the policy of China was to promote now in terms of this One Belt, One Road, which is a connection between economic development and also spiritual, religious and political harmony, which at the end is what every nation wishes, the ultimate peace. Of course it's going to be difficult, but I think as a famous Chinese, I like that expression, I think it's from Confucius, or maybe I'm wrong, but every long trip starts with some small steps, and let's make our own steps now.
Now, I want to stick to this theme of energy, and you're the right person to talk to about this. Your country harnesses its energy from hydroelectric sources. However, you have gas, you have oil, and coal supplies are also available. But it's not very reliable sometimes due to the weather patterns, due to the levels changing. Why is there that disconnect between those energy sources?
You caught something very interesting. I mean, we are blessed by having a lot of water resources, but in the meantime, occurs because we have developed mainly hydro resources for hydropower resources. What we're doing now, we're trying also to mix, to have a backup in terms of power alternative using the natural gas. Coal we have, it's in the other part of it's called Kosovo, it's a neighboring country. They have a lot of coal and lignite, so we also are trying to create a market with them to integrate our market. Of course, hydro is good, but it's fluctuating given the weather patterns, and that's why with the new gas coming now for the pipeline and also with the resources discovered in Albania, we want to create a good base for electricity or power produce or use of gas in various consumption needs at the households or industry by making the country more stable in terms of energy supply and also transforming Albania year by year in a kind of like a export center or a kind of a positive net trader in the energy. And I think we have the chances to do that.
Now, Albania and China has cooperated before on an economic level. One of them, I believe, is a major motorway that was built in Albania, I believe, with the Chinese...
Not yet. There is a negotiation going on, and I hope very soon we will conclude.
The reason I bring this up is because whenever Chinese investment is brought into another country, the deal usually is that the Chinese company will import Chinese labor to build all this infrastructure. We see it a lot in Africa. Would that cause any type of issue with your citizenry who might think that jobs are being taken away from them?
Well, I don't know the peculiarities of this certain contract, but to be honest, and if you ask me very frank, I would like to have a right proportion of the local content from Albania and of course the investor content in terms of the Chinese companies. That would be the greatest benefit for both countries, because of course the road, if it's a public-private partnership, which in the long run will pay for itself. Every country is taking its own risk. I mean, government of Albania, by pledging necessary engagements in terms of security of this investment, and also the Chinese investment. But I think local content is very important. I don't think that would be the main issue, because I believe, even I'm not directly in charge, but I have the information that the right equilibrium, the right proportion will be struck in this agreement, and I think that would be an example. I think maybe, I don't know the case in Africa, but in Albania you have a lot of access to labor. You have many specialities there, very good local companies in construction, because they have developed experience in the last 20 years. And even the foreign companies which are constructing in Albania, for example, the gas pipeline, and so even the main APC contractor is a well-known foreign APC. The local content of Albania have proven very efficient and very professional.
I'm just going to have to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Newsline with my guest, Damian Gjiknuri, Energy and Industry Minister of the Republic of Albania. Now, Mr. Gjiknuri, I wanted to get into the European Union and Albania in this half. How will European Union membership help Albania?
Well, of course, becoming a member is our main foreign policy and the national, let's say, goal. We already are a candidate. We are very close to opening the negotiation with the European Union, and I think EU is important for Albania because basically we are a European country. We have many trade with the EU. We want to be part of the European institutions, and I think all our system is based on the EU type of let's say of legislation, the way of thinking, the way of organizing our life and economy, which has pros and cons. But this is our road now, and we're not going to change our mind on that. So EU is our ultimate target. It's a difficult process because the EU has its own standards, and countries have to prepare for it. And I think, as you are, to be very straightforward, EU is an important element of our national interest, foreign policy, whatever you call it. We want to become member, and I hope one day we will be a member of European Union.
But is it really the right strategy for your country, considering how many problems all the EU member countries are having right now, especially fiscally? Just south of your country, Greece is in an absolute economic turmoil.
The failure of one member of EU doesn't mean it's a failure of EU in general. Of course, EU has its own challenges. If I see a concern for my country in terms of tomorrow a member of the EU would be, I hope Albania will have less bureaucracy. Sometimes the EU is famous for its own bureaucracy and implication in terms of financial system. But I think there are rooms and there are cases within European Union which have been small countries very successful. You have Baltic countries, they have managed very well. You have other countries in EU growing in a steady way, and even there are small countries withholding and withstanding all the sort of challenges that EU has gone so far. And I think it will be beneficial for Albania in the future. Of course, every government has to take its own lessons, draw its own lessons from the others, the mistakes, the achievement of the other countries. Greece, it's a great lesson for us, not only because it's our closest neighbor, and we watch very carefully what's going on in Greece. And I think it would be I'd say the duty of our politicians, the managers of this country, myself, the others, maybe the others will come later. We are electable, so we are not there forever. To draw those lessons and look carefully what would be in the best interest from the country within the EU, this European Union.
You mentioned bureaucracy. The European Union is famous for its bureaucracy.
It is.
I mean, are you ready for laws to be decreed by bureaucrats in Brussels to just hand it down and say, you must follow this now or else?
Well, this is a big debate in European Union. Also, European Union itself is evolving. Now many countries have bring in question about how far and how powerful Brussels can be. This is a big debate for many countries, and we are watching closely. Of course, we don't have a big voice. We are not member yet, but even when we become member, we are a very small country to have to change the rules or impose EU a different way of thinking. But I think even by looking at as I said, some examples of small countries within EU and the success they have, I think there is room for Albania to mitigate all these risks about bureaucracy, but also maintaining its shape in terms of investments, economic growth, attraction.
You would lose some sovereignty, though.
We will lose some sovereignty, but sovereignty, to be honest, sovereignty is a very relative term now. I think a sovereign country is a country, how we see it in our times, because we live in peace with our neighbors. We don't have any border conflict or open issue with the neighbors. I think the real sovereignty is respected when country is developed democratically and is developed economically. I think this is what we as politicians have a duty to the people of Albania, to secure more jobs, more economy, more trade, integrate this country in the world economy. And I think that's the best way to serve the sovereignty or sort of nationalistic feeling. And I think there is room for that, and Albanian government, if they work properly, and if EU in the meantime, to be honest now, see from the EU perspective, will be ready to assist and to provide necessary support for all the new candidates, it will be beneficial from all sides. Why I mean that? Because Brussels has the ability and the budget to support these countries, especially in their interconnectivity, integrating the markets, integrating this part of the world to the European Union, and these highways or energy infrastructure are very important to get the countries connected, and Brussels can support that with budget.
You know, I've looked at some interviews that you've done or your Prime Minister Edi Rama has done, and Western European journalists seem to be very patronizing when it comes to Albania wanting to join the EU. Do you get that same feeling when you meet its ministers?
You know, sometimes there is some prejudice about the Balkans in general, because Balkans has a bloody history, and it has been the sort of the most troublemaking part of Europe.
Definitely full of
yes,
that.
but even from that you can build on, because you see the progress that all these Balkans countries have made. This pacification process, reconciliation, harmony in terms of religious harmony. Of course, there are prejudices because the Albanian population, there are various religions, so people may see that as an advantage. Some people see that as a disadvantage. But I think those sort of walls, prejudices, psychological divisions are being broken every day, and what is happening around the world. I think EU should understand, and they're understanding that it's better to be part of a same area of security and economic prosperity, rather than create these divisions, which at the end will be bad for you, will be bad for the security in the surrounding, and at the end will hunt you more.
Now, do these prejudices stem from Albania's problems? Because we're talking about how much Albania can contribute to worldwide economic interests, but we cannot also ignore Albania's problems such as corruption in government, in bureaucracy, in the judiciary, in the police force. There's a lot of problems with the drug trade. There are problems with infrastructure in general. How is Albania going to solve all these issues?
It is going to solve step by step, and we are doing. I mean, it's the policymakers of this country, of my country. They are doing the best to solve these issues. Are not easy to be solved. These issues exist everywhere. And when we talk about drug trade is an international problem. And drug trade ends up in EU at the end, because that's where the consumers is, and that's where the financial muscles are for keeping the trade alive.
True, most of it is going to Western Europe.
And Albania is making its part of it, and it's contributing to the security. We have strengthened our law enforcement agencies, strengthened our legislations, strengthened the cooperation with the international police force, I mean with the authorities in the justice authorities in other countries. Have we managed to cooperate very well and put the people behind bar? But it's an ongoing story. It's like asking me, asking any nation, there will be always corruption, always some illegality in trade. It's a question, are they in the position to control the policy of the country? This is the sort of the question that we have to ask ourselves, because corruption and drug or illegal activity, it's part of the society.
Are you ready to take on the organized crime?
No, we are taking on, I think, besides the myths that they exist, I don't think the organized crime has a say in the great say in the Albanian politics of the way how the country is run. This government has demonstrated is completely detached from any links with organized crime. Of course, there are individuals, powerful individuals, like as I said, everywhere, but we're showing every day commitment to fight it, to put the people behind bars when they deserve, and to create a legal environment that makes it more and more difficult for this type of activity to thrive.
Now, the EU right now, switching gears here a little, is facing a migrant crisis from North Africa, Syria, all these nations that are in a lot of turmoil, mostly due to war and other reasons. Now, as countries such as Hungary shut their borders, there may be a southern route that they take, and that goes through your country. Are you ready to take on all these migrants?
Well, of course, as a small country, we cannot accommodate all these migrants. We are preparing ourselves, to be honest. There was a very important meeting some days ago in Brussels, where Prime Minister of Albania was there. All the Prime Ministers of Southeast Europe, and including from the EU members, they were there. They were discussing of the ways how, in a solidarity way, in a kind of collective way, to approach this issue. This is a major challenge. Europe has not used to this kind of wave of refugees for many years. It needs a common approach. Every country must contribute to it. Every country must have its share and contribute to accommodation, to treatment of refugees. But in the meantime, it brings the next question: what's next? And the most important thing is that, as we talked also before, it's for EU, United States, other big players, international players, to find a solution in Syria, to provide peace there, find whatever transitory way of going towards peace, and fighting all the sources of this, because the sources of this wave of refugees, conflict, and the ISIS and all the threats against people. So I think the world should be unified against this threat. And of course, every country must play its role. Of course, we are a small country. We contribute modestly, but we contribute honestly.
I just have a few seconds left. In a decade, what kind of Albania do you want to see?
In a decade, I want to see an Albania integrated in the European Union, a full member, but also a country which is still keeping this unique attractiveness, even within the EU, which can be a good country to visit and a good country to invest. And I think in Albania, and I can say directly to your audience, you will find a friend and a business partner.
Well, I'll just have to end it right there. Thank you for joining me this week. I will be back next week.